Today, a look at the second half of Season 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks, and our thoughts on the season as a whole.
I actually did think that the second half of Season 2 was pretty good. I wouldn't watch it again, it's not that type of show, but I did think that the season got better as it went on.
I agree. The season did get stronger as it went on. I felt like the beginning of the season, it kind of went backwards a little bit. Like Season 1 grew on me as it went. When it first started out, I thought the humor was very lowbrow and sophomoric. I was impressed with the knowledge of Star Trek that the writers and the creators obviously had, but I felt like they were not using it to their advantage because they were going for the cheap joke. By the end of Season 1, I thought they kind of overcame that. When we started Season 2, we were a little bit back. We went a little bit backwards. But by the time this season got to the ending, those last 2 episodes especially, I really did enjoy. I also found that I was looking forward to seeing the series every week, and I think it's because it's set in the same era as The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and Voyager, which is sort of the Renaissance era of Star Trek, and it has the feel that those shows had. Even though it's comedic and it's kind of parodying those shows in some ways, it still has the feel of that era, which I look forward to every week.
I will say the difference between Season 1 and Season 2 is a lot for me, because even though I don't remember Season 1, I do remember absolutely kind of hating it. Season 2, this season, I think it got better as it went on, like I said, and I think I actually liked it more, even though at the beginning I wasn't very impressed, which I will talk about later.
Well, the pattern of the 2 seasons is very similar. The penultimate episode of both seasons had a clever premise. In Season 1, I believe they went back and explored kind of all the movies, the Star Trek movies, which I really liked, and then that last episode incorporated Riker. And it was kind of an uplifting adventure, more in the spirit of true Star Trek than making fun of Star Trek. Very similarly, in this season, the penultimate episode dealt with, I'll call it the Lower Decks episode, because they examined the Lower Decks on a Vulcan ship and on a Klingon ship, and it was a hilarious joke at the end with the Borg ship because they just sat there regenerating. I thought that was very clever. The last episode felt cinematic. It was a Star Trek adventure. I'm not sure I bought into the idea of removing the hull plates, but all that aside, I really got into the crew working together and them striving to achieve this mission, and I thought it was kind of exciting at times. And so I've noticed in both seasons, they kind of play with the humor through the first 8 episodes. The 9th episode is very, very clever usually. And the final episode actually feels like a legitimate Star Trek adventure. And they always end it on a cliffhanger because they want to bring you back for the next season.
Yes. The thing I will say about the cliffhanger this time is that I am curious to see what happens with the captain. However, I don't know if I want to sit through another episode and watch what happens with the captain. I'm just not like that excited. The other thing I will say is with the cliffhanger at the end of Season 1, I wasn't happy with that because I am pretty mad that they didn't have Riker in this more.
I did think Riker would be in it more. I thought by now Boimler would have hooked up with his clone by now, which would have brought Riker back into the storyline. I think they're missing something with that, but I think Riker's not going to be in it every week, and if they gave you more Riker, people would kind of want that and be disappointed if they didn't get that. So I think they're trying to kind of move in another direction. I feel like these cliffhangers, I get it. They're trying to bring us in for the next season. But as much as this felt cinematic this last episode, it did have this kind of downer ending that you wouldn't normally get in a film because they want to leave you hanging so that you have to tune in for that first episode of Season 3. And unless you're The Empire Strikes Back, a cliffhanger is not a great way to end, right?
Yes. I will say that the cliffhanger at the end of Season 1, although I don't remember it too well, I don't think I was it didn't seem as sad that time, I don't think. This time, it did. It wasn't that I was sad, but it was like the crew and the captain was sad.
Right.
I think that was the difference between the two.
The end of Season 1, Boimler has left for the Titan. So, as the audience, we know Boimler's coming back. Mm-hmm. His crewmates are a little disappointed he's gone, obviously, especially Mariner. But here, of course, we know the captain's going to get off somehow. It's because we know the charges aren't correct. But at the same time, it really kind of took the air out of what was a very good episode. And I understand the reasoning. I understand the why. It's just that episode on its own was pretty fun. Again, I'm not too sure about the science of removing the hull plates, but
the ship looked weird without the hull
plates. It did look different, right? I guess for me, Lower Decks is kind of fun to look forward to for the reasons I said before. It works in that era of Star Trek that's my favorite. The in-jokes are usually very clever because I think the writers and the creators really do know their Star Trek. When they stick to a little bit higher brow humor, I prefer it. It's fun. I look, right now, Star Trek, I'm not a Discovery person. I've tried all 3 seasons of Discovery. It's just not for me. A lot of people like it, and that's fine, but it's not for me. So this is as close as I'm going to get. Picard even, there are times I really like Picard because I like him as a character. I like 7 of 9 being in it. I like it when Riker came back and in some of the original, the legacy characters are brought back in. But it's dark. It's depressing. And this isn't. This is fun and uplifting, and this is what I look for right now anyway. I find more enjoyment out of this. Even though sometimes I think it's a little disrespectful to Star Trek, and it can be sophomoric with its humor, I think for the most part, it's fun. And I like it for that reason. Yes.
I kind of hate to say it, but honestly, I think season 2 for me is one for free. Before, especially with season 1, I think I would have given it a 1 to Flea. But I do think that it got better. The season got better, and I think Lower Decks in general got better.
I agree. I mean, I really like how they've started to develop some of the minor characters like Billups, and there's been other minor characters that I've really enjoyed seeing. I think our main characters have gotten a lot more layers to them over this season, and I'm kind of curious to see what they'll do with it in the future. And the animation, I think, is beautiful. At times, when you're looking at the ships and the star bases, it's as good as some of the CGI in some of the films. I mean, you could legitimately feel like you're seeing a film at points. So for me, it's moved up from 1 for free to 1 to see because I find a lot of enjoyment in it.
See what I did there?
Oh, Daddy.